Extremely well and happy to be here. Hoping you guys had a great weekend and ready again for another week and another presentation. In fact, today we continue the series on bootstrapping. I've been running with bootstrapping for the last couple of almost 2 months, in which we've looked at different aspects of it. Very, very insightful. And I hope that you're able to save it and then go back to it, refer to the notes, refer to the message, of course, create notes and then use that for your own business. And today I am continuing with the whole concept of bootstrapping. We should be finishing in the next 3 or so weeks, as I have, I think, about 2 or 3 more presentations like this one. Now, today I want to start off by thanking you for joining us for another one of our 8 o'clock presentations. Sorry for being 3 or so minutes late. I was just working on some technical issues with my notes, which were just not behaving. But now that they are, we are safe. I must also mention that we come through every single day, Monday to Friday. Mondays is myself. Tuesday, I have Coach Sunshine, Dr. Sunshine Sylvia with her mindset change. Wednesday, we usually have the mompreneurs. I don't know how they're doing at the moment, so you might end up seeing me come through and present. Thursday, we have Dr. Nelly with Prosperity for Your Soul, and then Friday, we have the new image presentations. Last week, they were doing more presentations on colostrum. So today, I just want to pick it up on bootstrapping, how to scale your business. And today we're looking at a very interesting subject, the subject of scaling your sales. Now, I've said many times, but we'll never tire to mention repeating this. There are 2 key activities that must take place for your business to survive and thrive. Okay, the first is that you must be showcasing your product or service by being in front of customers. In short, someone must be eyeballing your product or service as often as possible. If you don't get them seeing the service or the product, you're not going to make any progress. So that's the biggest. The second is that you must be making sales. And when I say sales, I'm talking specifically about transactions that lead to money in your pocket or your bank account and the product or service in their hands. If these 2 do not take place, your business is basically toast. It will close down. Now, when it comes to scaling any business, there are 5 factors you need to be aware of, and I've mentioned this several times. I'll mention them again. 1 is to assess and strategize your business. 2, seek financing so that you meet all those breaks in cash flow. 3, secure your sales so that you never run out of money. 4, invest in technology. And 5, hire the right staff or strategically outsource. Today, we're looking at the third of those 5. So in other words, there'll be 2 more relating to the same, which is, of course, invest in tech and hire the right staff. Now, let's go into securing your sales. What exactly is that? As already highlighted, your income is critical to your success as a business. That income must be predictable and consistent, and that can only happen if this process is well secured. In terms of ground preparation, you must decide beforehand if you will engage a sales team or you go out and do the sales yourself. Of course, many times if you're starting a new business, I really don't see how you're going to manage to get a sales team, because you still don't have what I call proof of, but you know what? The fact that you're scaling and you're on Bootstrap on stage 4, which is what I talked about, which is scaling the business, it means you've already tested the product, it's already good, it's already happening. So back to this. So you must decide whether you're going to go do the sales yourself or you're going to bring in a team. Now, this is highly dependent on the type of product or service you offer. So the steps I'm going to be outlining now are focused on those that need to sell in order to gain a sale. Get it? Sell in order to gain a sale. Many products and services would require this type of marketing in order to close them. So I'm not talking about a big scale, go and advertise in the open market type of product, but I'm talking about something that is within a confined niche. So that one tends to need somebody a little more skilled, and the process is also quite skilled. We'll get to that. Another critical factor to place before commencing the process I'm going to mention is your system for lead generation. I cannot overemphasize that. This is the part of sales process This is part of the sales process, and if you get the right leads, it should lead to faster and easier sales. The way in which one generates leads is a topic for another day. But once leads are secured, you can secure the sale using what I'm about to explain. So let me talk a bit about leads, and then obviously we'll delve into what I'm presenting today. But leads are basically names, a list. It was Greg Abrams many years ago, over maybe 15 years ago, when I got, no, in fact, almost, yeah, 15 years ago when I really got into this thing, 17 years ago. It was Greg Abrams of Guerrilla Marketing who said, anybody who's doing any activity without a list is insane. I've never forgotten those words. I think that hit me so hard, I've never forgotten. Now, the only business I know where lists are literally worshipped and are the go-to of everything, all activity, is obviously network marketing. They're the ones who are big on that. But network marketing is just one of many areas where leads are critical. Insurance, any form of sales, you need leads, you need names, and you need to qualify those leads. And the process of qualifying leads is a whole other baby, but essentially it's ensuring that the type of names you have are really worth it. Because, for example, you could go into the telephone directory and just pick names and start calling names from A to Z. But that's not qualified leads. That's cold calling, and it tends to be quite lousy. The most effective way, if you want to do good leads, is to make sure you pre-qualify the leads. We used to learn that a lot in my sales days. You pre-qualify the leads. That means they must match more of the avatar, the type of people, or what we call customer profile, that would be interested in your product. So make sure that it's coming from that circle, then you pre-qualify them. And many times in this day and age, the most effective way to pre-qualify a lead is to ensure that you go fish in ponds where your potential leads are. And anybody who fills up a form, so if you put up online forms, which is the most powerful way of lead generation today, put up online forms or attend a conference, pick up names from people, whatever. Those are what we call, in fact, for me, the guys who fill up forms are the hottest leads. When I say hot, I mean the most likely to convert. And the bad leads are the ones that you just collect from anybody. In fact, there's a lot of times people will send you messages saying, get pre-qualified email lists. Don't dare touch those lists, because most of them are dead sold in the water. They have been sold repeatedly and been contacted repeatedly. Those emails, those leads are bad. They're terrible. So don't touch them, because they'll just mess up your business. So leave them be. The best way to progress in this thing is to actually get yourself proper leads, which you generate by yourself. And that's one of the hardest things that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people who get into this industry don't know that lead generation is one of the greatest skills you will ever pick. If you don't pick up this skill, the ability to pick up leads on your own and generate them, then you're really wasting time. So you need to learn how to generate leads. I'll do a whole presentation on that. So anyway, here's how you secure the sale. So let's imagine you've gotten the leads, you've made the call, and then now you're at the stage where you may be going to make a sale. This could be for anything. You could be a nail or makeup artist. You could be selling cookware. You could be a salesperson for a tech product. You could be a salesperson for insurance. It doesn't really matter what it is. But, and I'm talking about medium to high end sales. So there's mass sales. For example, if you're in insurance and you're selling, third party or comprehensive insurance, to be honest, that's a mass sale product. There's no real skill to it. Just get your vehicle to the spot where people need the sales, and then you get the sales. That one is an easy sale. You just need to be well located, and that's why all of them go and just kind of bundle up around, here in Zambia, where you'll be getting insurance, where you'll be getting road tax and things that just hang around there and get your sales. Those are lazy sales. Now, the real sales would be closing something quite substantial. Life insurance can be quite a hard sale. In fact, but generally life insurance, health insurance, home contents insurance, agricultural insurance. There are certain insurances that are a niche. So if you're going in there, you need to really do your homework, collect and generate good leads, and then make it happen. Another good example would be investment vehicles. I don't know, maybe you work for a company that does investing, and you get people to bring their what are they called, their money, and save with you, and then you invest it for them. Yeah, those are a bit more detailed. You need to go in there and really make some hard sales. Now, there are many other areas and examples I could give, but I think let's go into what happens now. How do you secure your sale in such a setup? And by the way, if you do this well as a business person, you will discover that if you're dealing with a product that has a monthly consumable, like a monthly resale, a monthly sign up, or some kind of sign up which recurs, those are better businesses, because then you make your money. Your biggest catch is the first sale. So brokers really benefit from this, especially insurance brokers for life insurance, because the premiums are monthly, and many of those salespeople and brokers make what we call recurring income. It becomes regular. So when you make a sale, your effort is in that first sale, but once you lock them in, put them on a DDAC or something, that's the annual subscribed renewable income. That's a sale, and in that industry, you're getting a percentage of that. You get about either 1% or 3% of the premium. I don't even know what they pay, but I know that you get paid that. So the more people you sign up, the better. Now, here's why it's so interesting to get such kind of business, is because it's not a once-off sale. The challenge with once-off sales is that you keep having to go find new customers. But the beauty with repeat sales is you make a killing. That's the reason why back in the day, printer companies would sell you the printer for almost nothing. That's the reason why these mobile companies, mobile service provider companies will sell you the handset for almost nothing. Their interest isn't in the handset. Their interest is in the contracts and the purchases you have to make every month to renew that service. That's where they make their money. So in the printers, it's the cartridges. They make their money off the cartridges. These are the consumables. So in our business, if you have a business and you think about how do you make this business sustainable, one of the things you have to ask yourself is, what product or service do you have that people can subscribe to? People can keep buying from you for. That's your catch right there. And if you really build this well, it can turn into very profitable business. Now, here's how you secure your sale anyway. So one, identify the decision maker. The best way to avoid repeat visits to a prospect in order to close a deal is to ensure the day you need to present, you do so to all key decision makers, all stakeholders. Sometimes, however, that may not be possible on first contact due to decision hierarchy. In such cases, ensure your initial contact is what is termed an elevator pitch. That is good enough to pique the interest of the initial contact in such a way that they get decision makers in the room for you. With some learning, this can be mastered well, such that you always get the decision makers in most of your presentations and save yourself a lot of wasted time. So follow-up is a whole different thing from this, because many times if you don't get the decision makers in the room, you'll go back to that place 5 times, 6 times, which is very inefficient, very inefficient. You can kill all that in one visit and then spend the rest of the time doing follow-up without having to go back repeatedly because the MD wasn't there, or because the husband wasn't there, or because the uncle wasn't there. Who's paying the money? That's a very important question. You need to get that info early enough so that you don't waste your time. 2, focus on the benefits, not the features. Now, this is obvious sales trope, but hey. So human beings are naturally selfish. So furthermore, decisions are always made based on what is best for us. So great sales must leverage this truth. In short, even though you may focus on features, most times smart sellers learn how to reach the heart and emotions to sway decisions towards a yes. Perceived benefits always win over features when it comes to sales. What am I saying? Humans are emotional. So the moment you tag and hit the emotion, you will get your sale way faster than trying to focus on the logic. Nobody buys things for logical reasons. Most people buy things for what it makes them feel like, especially depending on what you're selling. So let's imagine you're a perfume salesman or woman. What's the big deal there? You want them to smell good and be perceived as rich or well off or good or whatever, prestigious. So that's your key. So you want to appeal to something emotional. Every decision out there, whether it's a car, whatever it is, the emotion is always the big tag. So learn to know what that emotional appeal is and go for that. In fact, 90%, 95% of the times, people will always have a bias towards emotion. That's why in sales, the secret to advertising is getting people to feel good. Once they feel good about your product or service, believe me, they will make a decision based on that. They don't, this thing where people tell you, no, people are being logical. The only time they're logical is maybe when it's a big group and they're making a corporate decision. Yeah, that way, usually you're not good. But even then, if you target those people that are making the decision and then you touch their heartstrings, you're more likely to make a sale. Number 3, utilize the scarcity principle. Now, this is huge, my friends. This one is massive. Create a sense of urgency by offering a time-bound deal. This always works. It tips over 95% of your buyers because it appeals to the fear of missing out. Nothing is more powerful from a psychological sales spot than this one. In short, when presenting, ensure you indicate that if they make a decision within a specified period, there will be some benefits that will accrue to them. Discounts and special bundled products can be very persuasive when presented in the right sequence. So in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, we talk about the science or the psychology of selling, and this method is so powerful. You've all come across it, and we've all been kind of gotten by it. Now, look, they'll tell you stuff like, this product will be retailing for 2,500 kwacha. But if you take advantage today, for the next 72 hours from the time we've launched this, because you are our first people on the call, this product is going to be given to you at 50% of its price. Now that's so appealing. So meaning instead of paying 2,500, I'm paying 1,250. And if you take advantage today and buy now, this discount works for you. And then they, with these clever automation systems, they put the little timer there and it starts counting down. And so for many people, they're like, let me take advantage of this. And then then some can even put some real psychology into it. They can say, if you buy today only for the next 24 hours, we'll give you 75% off, meaning it will only cost you 625 kwacha. Can you imagine that? Or 600, whatever it is, half of, 2,500, yeah, 625, or yeah, I think it's 625. So imagine they tell you 625 kwacha only, 75% off today, between now and the next 24 hours. That's such a strong appeal, and it is so effective for most people. They will buy. Now, the secret to you being the owner of the business, make sure that every deal you put out there, stick by it. Don't change, don't move, don't budge. So if they miss that, it's 1,250. If they miss that, it's 2,500. And make sure you don't change the price under any circumstances, unless you're running a new promo and they catch the new promo. So on the next cycle of sales, but make sure you really stick with these things. So people will know that, oh my God, they do normally offer this. So next time it comes around, people will just jump on it. They won't even think twice because they were waiting for the next time you're doing the offer. So these things work very well. It's like Black Friday. Black Friday, things are sold at cost with a margin of profit. And because people are caught in the psychology of sales, they will buy even other stuff that's normally priced, which they then overprice to compensate for the special. So what they essentially do in these shops, they are very clever. They just move prices around. If all products are coming from one particular company, they'll just change pricing. So this one will be, 20% discount. This one will be 20% over. That's what, they'll just fiddle around. Then when that's over, change all over again. And that's why you notice when you go into places like the supermarkets, you see this price game. They are very, very clever. Bundled products, price game, limited offer, works all the time. That's why they print those newspapers. That's exactly what they're for. The offers that they give you on their platforms, that's what they're for. They work on the psychology of sales. And because sugar is normally 65 kwacha, you find it at 55, you're not going to even think twice. You buy 2, 3, 4. So they compensate. Then what's gone higher? Another of their products. They've taken it by 10% higher. And then you won't notice, you still pick that product and you pay for these. This money from here has been moved over there. It's a powerful method. Okay? Discounts and special bundled products can be very persuasive, like I say. Handle objections. This is another very powerful skill you need to learn as a salesperson. Objections. In fact, in our day and age, we call them FAQs, frequently asked questions. You can do this in two ways. Either wait for the client to raise them, which honestly sucks, or you can deal with the most common objections in your presentation. Okay? That way you eliminate all but the most common reasons for not buying, which are beyond you. Namely, A, they need to deliberate. So if they need to go and talk to somebody, there's nothing you can do about that. Two, they have no money now, which is a very common situation because I used to do, well, I still do a lot of sales. So you pin them to the point where they let you know they have no money now, or C, they are not interested. Okay, these are the only core objections outside your power to handle. In short, every other objection you can easily handle. Let's go back. They need to deliberate. You can handle that. You say, okay, can we call them now, or when can I be in touch? In fact, if you had done a good job, the person they need to deliberate with would have already been there. So all they need is to deliberate and come up with a yes or a no. So you can ask them, when would you be ready with a response to this? They'll say, okay, no, we need to run this by our shareholders, blah, blah, blah. We'll get back to you next week. Great. No problem. Or we've got you along with a bunch of other people. We've got you all bidding for this and vying for this offer. So once we're done with the offer, we'll come back to you. Fine. Those are good excuses. The second one, they have no money now. There's nothing you can do with that. Although, as a salesperson, I could say, what do you have at the moment? We could give you a special offer where you can pay a portion, and then from there, you pay the balance before we, lock it down or whatever. That's at your discretion. I'm not big on that, but try. Make sure that if they pay part, have some in your policies that this is non-refundable, or if it's refundable depending on the product. Because if they consume the product and they become a creditor, and then that's it, you can't get that back. If it's a clothing item or something, you can't get that back. So it becomes credit instantly. And you have to be very careful with how much credit you're giving, because that can kill you as a business. So be very mindful. The third one, they're not interested. There's nothing you do about that. So interestingly, you can minimize the last factor of not being interested by processing leads through thoroughly before making any presentation, thereby increasing your closing rate, which is the number of prospects that actually become paying customers. And then number 5, be aware of your competition. Now, this is of paramount importance because you will know what prospects of your marketing should be the differentiator, okay? What aspect rather. It is your ability to offer what is commonly called your unique selling proposition that will give you an edge over your competitors. That can only happen if you are aware of what your competitors are doing and offering. I couldn't even emphasize this enough. Lastly, always be closing, ABC, or number 6 rather. It's not the last one. 10% of prospects will buy regardless. Like, even if a frog presented the most useless presentation, they will buy. And 10% will not buy even if Jesus himself was pitching. Okay. However, 80% need to be persuaded. That's where the skill of the power of persuasion really counts. Okay. It is here that follow-up becomes another powerful process. Some sales can take days, weeks, or even months to close, but with consistency, they all add up to your bottom line. So always be closing. Find a way to close. Don't leave sales hanging. Back in the day, they used to teach us, don't leave your sales on the carpet. This is literally the concept, or on the table. The concept that you go right up to the edge and then you fear to ask for the sale. So a lot of bad salespeople are very afraid of asking for the sale. Don't be afraid. Be aggressive. Go for the jugular. Remember, there is something called the law of diminishing interest. So the longer it takes from the time you pitch to the time you ask for the sale, the less likely they're going to say yes. So many times, pitch and close on the day of presentation. Don't leave it for later. The only reason you should be leaving it for later is because they're going to add it to accounts for the month end, or this person's waiting for their salary to get paid. And if they give you a date for the salary, make sure on that day you call so that you don't miss the sale. Because many times they will have forgotten that they were interested. Other pressing bills will come up. Other emergencies will show up. So it's you closing at that point that will make a difference. Last but not least, upsell and cross-sell. I love this one, okay? This is the most powerful skill. With the right sales sequence and presentation, Not only can you have the repeat sales, you can also get them to buy more than your main product. So bundle products with which are not really popular with products that are popular. And that way you can move more stock faster. That's the secret behind fast food chains. They bundle products all the time and it works very well. Upselling. What is upselling? Anything else? That's the question in a fast food restaurant. Once you buy the basics, then they'll say, is there anything else you want to add? All of a sudden you will say, okay, let me have the ice cream. And sometimes they will upsell you very cleverly. They'll say, medium or large? Chips. Okay, give me large. Drink. 500 mils, 1 liter. Places where they measure, like out there, not here. That's an upsell. Very clever, very subtle, but very effective. You walk into the restaurant intending to spend 60 kwacha, you walk out with 130 kwacha bill. Why? Because they upsell. They're very good at upselling. So even you as a client, as a business, you need to think, what products can you upsell? One of the statements I always make all the time is, do not sell, what's the word? Do not sell a Corolla to somebody that can afford a Land Cruiser, or somebody that can afford a Range Rover. That's the secret. Don't sell one item that when you can afford another. And this is the secret to really growing. If you are not careful with that, you will undersell. A lot of times you undersell. So the secret lies in upselling and selling the right product to the right people. There are people who prefer certain types of products. They can afford the more expensive premium products. Don't undersell to such people. So I've heard bad salesmen saying, today we have a special going. Don't talk about specials, just sell. And if they look like they're dilly-dallying, you say, well, look, tell you what, what's your budget? So you pull that psychology. What's your budget? Then they'll tell you, then you say, okay, well, today, lucky you, I actually have an offer. Oh, do you? Yes. So don't bring your offer out in the beginning. That's bad, lazy selling. Oh, no, I have a special today. What if you were selling to someone who could actually afford to buy it full price? So when I used to sell in my day, I used to sell full price. I only gave specials to people when I realized that they wanted the product, but they were struggling with the price. Then, you can even pull it off. It's a very clever one. Let me make a call to my boss, and then you just go and put your phone for 3 minutes and pretend to be walking around. Then you come back. Okay, you know what? My boss says it's fine. He can give you the special. So here's the special. Then you offer it. And then they feel, it's all psychology. So they feel, wow. So my boss says, if you can take it today, then he'll give you this price. Oh, wow, let me have it. So a buyer, if you're a buyer and you're smart, you can also play that game with the seller, to gauge how serious they are. It's a very common method. If you go to Chinese and Arabian and even Indian markets out there in the world, you'll find that they pull this off a lot. You say, how much? They'll tell you $25. And you say, you want to go? Come, okay, come. I gotta have $20. I give you $20. $20. No, I don't have $20. So it's a game between the vendor and the buyer, and it's very effective. And everybody there is playing psychology. You want to pay a certain price. Their product is a certain price, but they will start off by charging it way higher. And this is because they know that there are going to be people who don't want to come and haggle. They just want to say, how much? Okay. And then, they give a price, you argue, yeah, you get the product, everybody's happy. But this way, like I keep saying, you will sell Range Rovers to people that can afford Range Rovers and Corollas to people that can afford Corollas. But never make the mistake of selling a Corolla to someone that can afford a Range Rover, because then you will have undersold yourself. You will have missed a big sale. You could have gotten far more if you were smarter. So anyway, that's about securing sales. This is something you can learn very easily from any good sales place. These are things you can learn on pitching. I've found, for example, I'm a fan of network marketing. I've always promoted network marketing. So for some of you who find yourself struggling with selling, if this is like new for you, get into network marketing. Spend about 2-3 years in it. You will learn so much about all these aspects because you will have to do a lot of selling. And I know that these days, a lot of network marketing companies will tell you, no, there's no selling. They're just lying. Every network marketing, there's selling involved. It doesn't matter how you do it, whether you do it by referral or by reference or whatever, it's still sales. It's still the art of persuading people to do something they were not planning to do before. That's a sale, my friend. When you get somebody to do something they didn't plan to do, you're selling to them. So it is a great skill you need to acquire in your business. If you don't acquire this skill, you will struggle. I am huge on telling people, get to learn how to sell. And so on that point, next week when we come back, we'll be talking about technology, investing in tech. You have a great day and catch you tomorrow with Dr. Sylvia on the call.